let's go. All right, guys. Today in class, I know I'm being a lot more peppy than I actually am. Hey, for those of you at home, this is live and in person. We are going to be looking at a KWL chart. So what I need for us to do today is to open up your KWL chart, which is in your classwork. Some people, like we said to the in-person learners, did not get their test done because they didn't see it in their feed when they last opened it on Friday or Saturday. So they missed a test. I need you, if you are at home right now, to make sure you do that. So I'm going to have the people that are in their seats right now open up the KWL chart that's in their classwork. I'm shutting the door. They can't see, neither can you. And we're going to be looking at what is a KWL chart. Now, KWL stands for what you know, what you want to know, and what you've learned. So we're going to do the L column at the very end of this unit. And after you get the KWL chart pulled up, if you could shut your computer screen, only if you're here in person. Shut your computer screen, magically, here we go. So, in the K column, what I need you to write down is what you know about Reconstruction. Now, I know what Kylie's thinking. She's thinking, Mr. Hopkins, you're not really a very good teacher because you haven't taught us anything about Reconstruction. Kylie, you're not wrong. However, I think there are some things that why would you smile and laugh at something like that? That's not funny. Why would you laugh at I'm not a very good teacher? So, while we're thinking about Reconstruction, there are some things that we have not learned about Reconstruction. In fact, that may have been the first time that you've heard the term. However, in class today, we're going to brainstorm together and try to start the learning process from scratch. But there are some things based on history I think that we can kind of figure out about Reconstruction. So think about maybe who, or what, or when it happened, or where it was needed, or why it was needed. So we've taken some people, it's taken them a while to guess and not be afraid of being wrong. Luckily, there are not a lot of wrong answers. It's just what you know right now about Reconstruction. So we're going to write these things down on the board. As you noticed probably so far, whether you're remote or in person, I don't write very much or paint very much like Bob Ross. I'm very poor, like third grade handwriting. So I need somebody in person to be brave right now. I can hear them shouting through the computer at home. What do you know about maybe when Reconstruction happened? Wary, scratch his head. Yes, Wary, thank you. When do you think Reconstruction started?
1800s.
1800s is right. Can we be more specific?
1809.
Close.
1807.
I meant not very close.
Oh,
All right, so think about what we just did in class. What were we just learning about? Starts with the C, ends with Civil War. Good. So when was the Civil War?
1860s.
1860s. How about 1865? Or we could even put after the Civil War. At home they're giggling, and in class they're giggling at how poorly Mr. Hopkins writes, I'm sorry in advance. However, every once in a while, this magical thing can happen that makes it look like brilliant.
Yeah.
Come on. One time. Come on, give me one time. Let it. Hit it. Not responding. Not responding. Sorry, people. Nailed it.
Whoa.
I write so cool. Okay, so we know it happened in 1865. We know after the Civil War. How about why? Why do we have to have Reconstruction? Or maybe even what it is. What do you got, Mr. Baby Aurora?
Yeah. What is it?
I don't know what you raised your hand to answer. Maybe why we had it or what it is.
I'm confused.
Confused about what?
the question.
You're confused. Why did we have to have Reconstruction?
Because we tore up the country.
Okay, can we be more specific? What part of the country got torn up during the Civil War? Let's go for it.
The South.
The South. Why was the South destroyed?
Because of the laws.
And they were destroyed after the Civil War. So, this is kind of important, and that is question number 1 on your Chapter 17 test. It's A, B, C, or D. I think the answer is C. What is the period of... Oh, crap. Hold on. Before I give you the first test question. What is Reconstruction? What do you think the term is? Mr. Ware?
The rebuilding of an economy.
Rebuilding. So not just the buildings. I like that he went one step further. He said rebuilding buildings, maybe, but also it's rebuilding the economy. So Reconstruction is rebuilding, and lots of stuff needed to be rebuilt. So we have the period of rebuilding the South after the Civil War is called... That's right, C, Reconstruction. I think that's question number 1 on your Chapter 17 test. The answer is C, Reconstruction. The period of rebuilding the South after the Civil War. We knew that we need to rebuild the South because it was destroyed. The North came to the South and destroyed it. Why? Huh? Sorry, what did you say?
Because they were mad.
They were mad. Why was the North mad at the South? Yes, Foxworthy. We can't take, I don't know, but check your notes, get back to me. Kaylee, why was the North mad at the South during the Civil War?
Because they wanted to be their own country.
They broke up, like if you've ever had an ex-girlfriend come to your house all mad and just be cray-cray. That happens sometimes. They come all mad. So, same thing with the North. We came down to the South and we started going ballistic and tearing up railroads and bridges. We didn't want them to break away from the country. And there was one more very important thing that kind of reminded me of your POD. What else did we want to do from the northern standpoint, Ms. Silva? Other than they broke away, what was the other thing that we wanted to get the South from doing?
Like, has something to do with slaves. Like
Something to do with slavery. We did not want them to have slaves in the South. We thought that was not right and not fair to slavery. So this is where the North came in and started this. So I think you guys have answered quite a bit of questions. One more question in the KCOM. Who do you think ran Reconstruction? Who's going to be in charge of Reconstruction? Let's go for it.
The president.
The president. Can you be more specific? Abraham Lincoln. Not only for like 4 days, because after the Civil War, very soon after, he was shot and killed. Very sad, very sad. But we'll get there in the first section. So the North was going to be in charge of this. In fact, for about 12 years, it took 4 years to fight the Civil War. For 12 years after the Civil War, they were busy rebuilding the South. 4 years to fight, 12 years to fix. In fact, the United States does this quite often. When we go to war, we will then come back after we spend $500,000 per missile that we launch into some other enemy country. We'll go back in and we'll spend $500,000 more to rebuild the schools, the hospitals, and the buildings that we destroyed. That is not a very economically wise decision, as Eric has very eloquently put it, aka that's done. However, why do we do this? Why did we rebuild Germany after the Nazis took over and Adolf Hitler in World War II? Did we hate all the Germans? It's just that the group of Germans that were heading it during the war in Iraq, we spent, like we said, about $500,000 per cruise missile and shot it into their capital city. And then we went back in after we ousted their government and we rebuilt it. We wanted to get those people kind of thinking like us. We wanted them to be have a democracy and be able to choose their leaders and have the freedoms that we enjoy in the United States. At least that's why we say we do. Sometimes maybe there are different ulterior motives, but we won't get to that today. So The North ran Reconstruction is maybe something that you would say. Whether it be the president, because if we would have left, because we said it took 12 years, if the Northern troops would have left the day after the Civil War ended with the surrender of Robert E. Lee at Appomattox Courthouse, do you think the South would have given those slaves their rights? Absolutely not, probably, right? They would have done whatever they could. They may have even started another civil war. They may have tried to break away again. So we kept Northern troops in the South for several years after the war was over, and the North was going to run Reconstruction. So as we go through and look at what we know, this is where I think the most interesting part of class is. Because now all the tests are online. I've already given you question number 1, but sometimes I will rewrite the test based on what you guys want to learn about in class. So the W column is for that. If you have it pulled up on your at-home computer, it says in the W column, write down something that you want to know about Reconstruction. Eric is thinking nothing. However, nothing is not a good answer for the W column. So what would we want to know? So think about the things that are relevant to you, because I think it's more interesting when you guys are engaged and excited about learning stuff in class that means something to you, as opposed to me coming up with the stuff that is boring, as the other classes call it. So what would you guys like to know? Think about what you do in your everyday life. Somebody came up with, like, what games did they play back then? Well, kind of interesting, because there was a guy about during the Civil War time period that invented a new American pastime game. And the North and the South would even take breaks during the war and play this game. The guy's name was Abner Doubleday, who's kind of not really the guy, but given credit to inventing this game. What game is it? America's pastime.
Mr. Hawkins,
Yes.
quick question.
Answer.
The underlayment, you said,
Yes. Yes. That's right. In the W column. They told me I can't. So in the W column, what you like to know? Hey, what is that game?
Baseball.
Baseball. America's pastime. Invented kind of by Abner Doubleday. They stopped during the Civil War. They were kind of civil back then, and they play a game. So some things that have interested the people throughout the history of the day, or throughout the history of my class, we try to work into your test. So, I mean, if you'd like to focus on one part of the historical part, somebody said they like to watch movies. They said, well, did they make any movies about the Civil War? That was their W question. So, what interests you, and how can we relate that into class? Mr. Wary.
The guns.
The guns, they love guns. It's not a good thing for school, but yes. What weapons were used? So that's a good W question. What else makes another good W question as relevant to you? This is how we write your test. It will be boring and tough to study if you are not engaged or care anything about what Mr. Hopkins cares about. I have to write the whole entire test.
Are uniforms?
Maybe uniforms, if you liked maybe how they dressed back in the day. Somebody said, kind of as a joke, maybe how they dressed. Somebody says a joke, hey, when you went to school, what kind of masks were cool? That's not a very relevant joke, because, I mean, we wear masks every day. Back in the day, they wore no masks. So, as we're thinking about the stuff that relates to you guys, maybe how they dressed, what kind of weapons they used, what else you like? Elijah! You did raise your hand, though. I got this. I need something that you'd like to know about Reconstruction that may be somewhat related to you. You got nothing. What's a question that's unanswered so far? Mr. Go for it.
How much did it cost
What
to
a
reconstruct
great
compared to
question.
math?
How much, it's a very popular question. It costs, number 3. Anything else? Haley, got anything to add?
I don't think so.
Nothing? Okay, so what I need for you to do in class today, I need you to open back up your Chromebooks and look at that KWL chart that I sent you. I only need 2 things. 2 things in the K column and 2 things in the W column. And after you're done with those 2 things, I gave you a spot for 4 answers. If you want to go above and beyond, that's perfectly fine. The L column has been the mystery because that is going to be for what you've learned about Reconstruction. I will probably resend this back to you in a couple of weeks after we finish up our unit and find out how much stuff that you've learned. Thank you in class and online for being a very good audience today.